Introducing A.X.L, the latest in military protection, featuring facial recognition, onboard weapon systems, and owner pairing capabilities.
It's paired now. The key gives them control of the entire project.
A.X.L, or A.X.L, is directed by Oliver Daly and tells the story of an aspiring motocross racer named Miles who happens upon a giant metallic dog called A.X.L, which just happens to be a multi-billion-dollar military project gone missing. And hilarity ensues. I'd never heard of the name Oliver Daly before this movie. Turns out there's good reason for that. Daly has exactly 2 director credits to his name, A.X.L, and a short called Miles, which it turns out A.X.L is based on. Of course, I looked up the short on YouTube, which I'll link to below. It was posted on January 10th, 2015, and as of my viewing, had a whopping 8,390 views. During the short, you get about a minute where you actually see A.X.L and 0 character development. So how does a 5-minute video with nothing really new or interesting to offer become a movie with a $10 million budget and names like Thomas Jane and Ted McGinley attached to it? No, seriously, I'd like to know, because I don't get it. If you're as old, or as into 80s pop culture as I am, upon viewing the first trailer for A.X.L, you probably thought of the 1986 movie Short Circuit, and you wouldn't have been too far off the mark. While they both center around an escaped military robot with feelings, the most notable difference lay in the fact that Short Circuit was trying to tell a compelling story, where A.X.L just seems to be showcasing a CGI dog. The cast is pretty sparse. You have Alex Newsetter as Miles, Becky G as Sarah, Thomas Jane as Chuck, Miles' dad, Alex McNichol as Sam, Miles' competition, Ted McGinley as Mr. Fontaine, Sam's dad, and Dominic Raines as Andrick. To sum up, Miles is attempting to break into motocross with the help of his dad, Chuck. Sam is also attempting to break into motocross with the help of his dad, who is only ever referred to as Mr. Fontaine. The big difference between the two is Chuck is a humble but hardworking welder, I think, while Mr. Fontaine is rich, and because this is Hollywood, a jerk. Sarah's mom works for Mr. Fontaine as a maid, I think, and they live in a small apartment on the Fontaine property. This, of course, makes Sam look at Sarah as, for lack of a better way to put it, his, irrespective of how she feels about it. The only other character of note is Andrick, the designer and developer of the A.X.L project. Okay, there's the character of A.X.L itself, but that's just a CGI dog. The movie tries to sell us on 3 ideas. Rich people are jerks, the military is evil, and robots can be sentient. I guess with the idea being that once a machine becomes sentient, it should be afforded the same rights as other sentient beings. If I remember correctly, Short Circuit did much the same thing. It's been decades since I've watched it, so don't quote me on that. But I do know that Short Circuit was fun to watch. A.X.L is not. There's very little in the way of character development, so it's difficult to feel invested in anything that happens on the screen. The acting is believable enough. Everybody involved does the best with what they have to work with. The problem, of course, is that they just don't have much to work with. The writing appears to be taken straight from a course on Writing for B-Movies 101. There is nothing in this movie that can't be seen from a mile away. The characters are exactly who you expect them to be. The sequence of events happens exactly as you would expect them to happen. The movie ends exactly the way all the foreshadowing tells you it's going to end. I mean, there were several points during the movie where I said the actor's line verbatim before they did. As far as the dog goes, the CGI was pretty good most of the time, but the practical effects, when used, were surprisingly bad. A.X.L very much feels like it was a practice movie. What I mean by that is, the studio puts up a relatively small budget, everyone involved gets a chance to practice their craft, and nobody is surprised when the end result is less than amazing. The studio is almost certain to get the small investment back, and everyone involved is a little bit better at what they do. In theory. Personally, I think that sort of thing happens way more than you would think. A.X.L is not a horrible movie. It's pretty family friendly, and I'm sure kids and tweens will get a kick out of it. For that matter, if you set your expectations correctly, you might get a kick out of it yourself. As for me, I did set my expectations accordingly, but it didn't help. I'm going to give A.X.L 2 out of 5 stars. If you're just looking for something to watch with the family and you've already seen all the animation stuff, A.X.L might be worth a once through. It will not be making an appearance in my Blu-ray collection, however Short Circuit already has. You should check it out. And that's it. Have you seen A.X.L yet? Do you have a favorite Robots Are Sentient Beings movie? Tell me all about it in the comments, and as always, like and subscribe, and I'll see you back here next week with my review of Kin, as in family, not the Barbie doll. Never mind.